Right, well, as you guys might have seen in my previous video, I was able to get a bunch of Commodore 64 games. Well, I can now safely say I am a proud owner of my own Commodore 64 computer. Yeah, it took a little while to get here, mostly because I ordered it around Christmas. Obviously, the seller was away for Christmas break, so unfortunately I had to wait a little bit. But yeah, it finally came. So yeah, this is actually considered the highest selling of the 8-bit computers. So I think it was released in 1984, I think it was. Oh, 82, sorry. It was either 82 or 84. I really should check that before I start this video. So yeah, it's called 64 because it has 64 kilobytes of RAM. Yeah, I've sort of looked at these from afar and I've sort of always wanted to get into them. I want to get I always look at every aspect of video game history. And I think for this one, vintage computers were a big deal back in the day because back in the day you didn't have, I'm pretty sure I saw this earlier in my other video, but like you didn't have like standardized operating systems. So a lot of the computers were essentially their own consoles in a way. Plus they were able to survive the video game crash because, they weren't consoles, they were computers, so they at least had other uses in addition to playing video games. Not to mention with stuff like cassette tapes, it was dirt cheap, these kinds of games. So yeah, this was, I bought this second hand, cost me a little bit more than sort of some of the others for sale, but it seemed in pretty good nick. And yeah, I was happy to confirm that everything worked when I got it and tried it. Everything except the spacebar. Unfortunately, no matter many times I pressed, it didn't work. So I did have to get in and give it a clean. I actually discovered, I think the reason this wasn't working was because when you push it down, there's actually a little carbon point. There's sort of 2 points, and essentially when you press it down, it completes the circuit. And unfortunately, with the space bar, there was actually a bunch of just little crap and hair follicles and whatever. It was just filling the. It was actually covering the points. So yeah, after giving that a cleaned all them, just gave the PCR board a quick swipe, and yeah, it all now works. Yep, can confirm the spacebar works great. So yeah, you got a lot of usual function you expect. So yeah, you got your standard word keyboard, and you got numbers, controls up here, because down here is actually a special Commodore button. So you got run stop, which is often to run programs which you plug in, like a tape deck or floppy disk drive. The shift and lock. One thing I found fascinating, this is just standard pressing of buttons. This one is actually a pressable switch to actually press in, press out. Which also made it annoying when you actually want to get into the keyboard and clean it, because in order to get in, you actually have to, so because this is on like a separate function, there's actually wires, they're actually soldered underneath the switch. So you actually have to unsolder those wires in order to get, then you can unscrew, and then you can get to the PCR board. So it causes a bit of a faff, but I got there in the end. And yeah, interesting enough, you got cursor keys. So you got your left, you got up, and then yeah, you got these other cursors. So they go down and right by default, but yeah, if you hold shift or if you hit your caps lock, then they switch to up and left. And then of course you got your function keys. Now there's a lot of other different functions you can use this for, like there's obviously computer programs which you can purchase and load up. But personally, I've bought this for playing video games. I might get into that because I saw I think it was like Introduction to Basic. There are actually a bunch of cassette tapes and instruction manuals. So yeah, but I might do that. Maybe, go through, how it works, maybe actually get a good feeling towards Basic. But for the moment, this is what I got. Now, I'm also go through the ports to show you. So yeah, so you got here, so you got your 2 control ports. So that's for your joysticks. You can do 2-player. Funny enough, with some of the games, it's like, okay, obviously for a joystick, you plug in control port 1. But I do have one game, I forget which one it was. I think it was BMX Trials. It actually tells you to put it in the second port. It's a little weird. So you got your on and off switch, standard stuff. Then you got power. And then around the back, so yeah, memory expansion. I do not have that yet. I could maybe get one. HL, I'm not really sure what that does. Doesn't look like it's really got any... I assume this is for something like maybe it's region specific. Maybe if you know, as an optional extra or something like that, or a specific upgrade. Then you got the port for RF, so if you just want to connect it straight to a TV. Then you got your video output, serial output. That's where the cassette goes. And then, yeah, user ports. So, interesting enough, you can plug in video game cartridges if you do have one. Let's see, nothing on the left. So now, obviously, trying to plug this into modern screens is a little tricky. So I actually do have, oh yeah, it's right here actually. So yeah, right here I do have the actual port for the cable for just plugging it in. So yeah, this is sort of the old 8-pin. Well, it's 6-pin actually in this case, but yeah, it's sort of an old connection type. Now it's a bit of a faff to try and to adapt. Well, fortunately I have this bad boy. So, and I've already tested this to make sure it works. So it's actually very simple. So just get it out here. Yeah. So yeah, as you can see, so you can still use obviously the connection if you need it. But yeah, the idea is quite simple. You just turn around. So yeah, just plug it into the video section and yeah. There we go. So yeah, now you can actually use AV cables. I have purchased separate AV cables specifically for this, so they'll stay with the Commodore. This will also go inside with it. I'll make sure to leave it in the bag anyway. I just don't want to lose these little circuits. But yeah, so that means I'll be able to use AV cables, which lets me hook it up to any TV, like that one, for example, does have AV cables. Additionally, it also lets me use my AV to HDMI converter, which lets me plug into my Elgato, so I can in fact record video game captures of this. So that is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, there are 3 different formats which you can play video games on. You got the cartridges, which are obviously the easiest because you can simply just plug it back here, or you can go with either floppy disks or cassette tapes. Floppy disks are cheaper than cartridges, and then obviously tapes are much cheaper than even them. So I haven't gotten the floppy disk yet, though I haven't gotten any floppy disk games yet. But obviously the cassette tapes you would have seen, I got plenty of them. So obviously I need a tape deck, and voila, the CN2 data set unit, model 1350 by Commodore Computer, suitable for use for all Commodore computers. Yeah, in its original box with its, look at that, still got styrofoam packaging, it's got the instructions underneath, look at that, it's brilliant. So yeah, a few things to note whenever you're using one of these. Firstly, something I've never thought I'd have to actually say, be kind, rewind. Yes, before you start any game, you have to rewind the tape. So that way, when you start, when the computer starts reading the data, you have to read it from the start. Another important function is you do have to physically press play on these because I don't know why. I just thought maybe, you know, the computer would be able to control these buttons. I don't know. Maybe I'm just so used to modern technology being able to use that. But nah, no, you actually have to physically press the play button. Interesting. It's sort of weird how they actually some games will, you know, use different instructions. For example, like some, you know, if you wanted to load a game, you simply type in load and press enter. Other ones have you hold shift and then you press the run stop button. That will get started. And additionally, sometimes you have to press play before you start the load command. Some do say you have to do it after load command. I honestly don't know if there's any much of a difference. Because regardless, you hit any load command, it's like, okay, load, we're ready to load. Press the play button. So it actually tells you to press the play button anyway. So I don't really understand that. Yeah, I might as well take this out. Just have a quick squeeze. So yeah, as I said, it cost me, I think it cost me about 50 Australian dollars to get this. So obviously it costs a bit more because, you know, it's in its original packaging. I mean, you know, that obviously costs more. But I probably didn't cost quite as much for two reasons. One, obviously, I bought the tape deck on its own. So, you know, it's useless unless you have a Commodore computer for it, which I now have. Additionally, you know, they don't know if it works or not because they don't have a Commodore to check. Usually enough, the other reason is a little bit cheaper. Look at all this. Just random scratches up the top here. Just seems very strange. On the plus side, it is purely just, you know, it just affects the cover of it. It doesn't actually affect the tape deck itself, because I can confirm this bad boy works. I have been able to get games loaded. A couple of them haven't loaded, though. I may probably put that on the issue made with the tape itself, though. Tape deck may need a clean, but for the most part, it seems to work anyway, at least with certain games. Now, the beauty of this specific model is that obviously I bought it for my Commodore 64, but it does say clearly in the instructions that this will work with both Commodore VIC-20 and the Commodore PET, which are the previous home computers of Commodore before the Commodore 64. So that's brilliant, because it means, you know, if I ever get those previous versions, it means I don't have to get another tape deck. I can just use this one. I'm doubtful I'll ever get a PET because, you know, it's Commodore's first computer. Probably wasn't super popular. Yeah, maybe popular in its country of origin, but apart from which, yeah, would have been the UK, I believe. But yeah, unfortunately, I doubtful I'll ever get one of those. VIC-20 on the other, there are a few I have seen around, so hopefully I will be able to get that. So that will be good. So anyway, now obviously not all the games you can just use as a keyboard for. Some do require the joystick. So with that being said, one second. Sorry, I just had to cut there because I completely forgot to bring these over before I started making the video. Yeah, so I got these joysticks. Now I'm a little miffed about when I bought these for the simple reason that it was originally advertised there were 4 joysticks. There were total 4, but I did not properly read, like the idea being, okay, well if I get 4, because, you know, these are old joysticks, I figured, well, if, you know, as long as, you know, a couple of them work, or at least one anyway, by buying 4 it gives us the greatest chance of at least getting one to work. The bastard, like the eBay listing, he didn't change the pictures at all. He just put a footnote in the bloody description just to say, oh, I've sold 2 already. I'm like, why not change the picture? Everyone's going to go based on the pictures, aren't they? Yeah. Well, anyway, regardless, I got these 2 joysticks. They came with about half a dozen games anyway, so it wasn't too bad, but still, a little annoyed. The good news is that, yeah, these are both official Commodore controllers, yeah, and the best part is, both of them work. I've tested it. I tested it on the same game. It was the first game I actually tried to use on this thing, which was Star Trooper. Can confirm both of these work. No problem whatsoever. So yeah, that is my Commodore computer. So I finally own this computer, and I hope to actually get more of these different types of computers. You know, maybe I probably won't go for VIC-20. I might go for like maybe an Amstrad ZX Spectrum or something like that. There's even a few local computers. There's one actually known as the Micro B. I think it is a rebrand of another computer. But yeah, there's sort of something very specialized here in Australia. So, no, I wouldn't mind being able to find other things. But regardless, I am super psyched. I'm super happy with this console. And I cannot wait to start, hopefully I'll be able to record a bunch of Commodore 64 games for your viewing pleasure. And yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. Going to see what kind of games that were released for this system. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And yeah, I can't wait to do that.